Beneath the walls of a majestic castle, Duke Ilian stands with his army, the master of the northern borders, facing a massive army of the undead, whose numbers have exceeded all expectations, and a terrifying poisonous fog spreads through the air. A man shouts, calling out to the Duke and pointing at something. From among the army of the dead, the undead knight Dorian appears, a knight so powerful that even 10 high-ranking knights cannot guarantee victory against him if they fought to the death. One of the men suggests to the Duke that they retreat and prepare for a siege, insisting that victory is impossible with their current forces. The Duke rejects the idea of retreating, explaining that the northern wall has already fallen, and if the city gate falls as well, the nation will be finished. As the Duke emphasizes the need to hold them back today, no matter the sacrifices, he suddenly stops speaking, astonished. Suddenly, an unknown person rushes at incredible speed towards the enemy army, and the Duke wonders about his identity. It is revealed that this person is Lord Urian Rox of the Southern Marquisate of Rox. Someone recognizes him as the one who fights with daggers. Doubt spreads among the men about his ability to face Dorian with daggers, believing it is impossible to kill him. Urian attacks the knight, Dorian, and Dorian's body begins to melt, amidst the astonishment of everyone wondering how this is happening. Then, Urian lands other blows on the rest of the undead, and their bodies also melt with a single strike. The men marvel at this scene where the terrifying corpses melt with a single blow. One of them wonders if Urian is a saint sent from heaven, to which another sarcastically replies not to make him laugh. In reality, Urian was not a saint. He was using the battle to his advantage. System messages appear before him, stating that he has gained experience and increased the level of the Firebone Mountain technique, a poison that can dissolve the marrow of the undead, and that the 10,000 poisons absorption technique has absorbed the poison, increasing the experience of the 4 heavenly poison arts. Urian declares to himself that he will take everything that is useful for his body. The events go back 6 months in time, where Urian wakes up in a luxurious room, wondering where he is. A woman addresses him, saying, "Have you awakened, young master?" Urian looks at her in astonishment, admiring her beauty, but he notices her strange clothes and the sword at her waist. The woman asks about his condition, and as he tries to answer, she tells him she will call the priest immediately and leaves. He tries to stop her to ask something, but she has already left. After the woman left, the young man remained alone, wondering where he was. But when he looked at his body in the mirror, he was greatly shocked. He screamed in surprise at his new appearance, wondering where his original body, that of a mature and attractive man, had gone, and how he had transformed into this chubby, childish form. He couldn't comprehend it, and thought he might be in a dream, thinking that if he went back to sleep, he might wake up from this nightmare. At that moment, a man entered and addressed him as young master, and it appeared he was the priest. Another person followed the man, an elderly man with an imposing and intimidating presence. In addition to the priest, he grabbed the young man's hand. The imposing man angrily scolded the young man, calling him a disgrace to the family's honor and asking if he had finally decided to wake up. The young man wondered to himself about the identity of this frightening man, while the priest tried to calm his master, suggesting they postpone the punishment since the young master had just woken up. The imposing man reluctantly stopped scolding the young man after being convinced by the priest's words. After the priest examined the young man, he told the imposing man that his mind seemed stable and most of his injuries had healed, expressing his relief. But the imposing man scoffed at the word relief and shouted that he would have preferred it if the young man had died, then accused him of assaulting his fiancée and called him a monster. He continued to berate him, reminding him that he had turned 19 and it was time to grow up. He pointed out that his younger brother had already awakened his aura, while he, the eldest son, was getting fatter by the day. The young man stood bewildered by the term aura, which he did not understand. The imposing man ordered him to go directly to his fiancée and apologize properly as soon as he recovered. When the young man asked who she was, the man shouted that she was his fiancée, Alia, warning him that he would be finished if she didn't forgive him. Under the threat, the young man answered with a trembling voice in agreement. The man concluded his words with a final warning to Urian not to bring any more shame to the Rox family. Upon hearing the name Urian Rox, the young man realized the horrifying truth. He was Urian Rox, and if he was Urian, then this frightening man was Marquis Wellington Rox. Unconsciously, he spoke the name Wellington directly. The Marquis became enraged that his son dared to call him by his first name to his face and struck him forcefully. Urian's body flew through the air and fell to the ground while those present tried to calm the furious Marquis. As Urian lay on the floor, almost unconscious, he still believed that everything happening couldn't be real, but just a dream. Then suddenly he gasped and woke up. Urian wakes up again, still in shock, wondering why he can't wake up from this annoying dream. A white-haired woman enters and asks if he has awakened. He looks at her in shock and calls her by the name Arin, and she responds, confirming her identity. His confusion grows as he puts his hands on his head in despair. Urian asks Eren if the reason he's in bed is that he pursued Elia and was beaten by her until he lost consciousness. Eren is surprised by his sudden formal tone of speech, but she confirms to him that he was indeed attacked by Lady Elia, and that she hit him so hard he fainted after he tried to assault her. Urian realizes the extent of his trouble, and feels that he's finished. The whole truth suddenly becomes clear to him. He has somehow ended up inside the web novel that he himself wrote. The bigger disaster is that he didn't reincarnate as the protagonist, but became the despicable villain who creates problems for the hero and ultimately dies a miserable death. He panics, refusing to believe what's happening, and screams that this isn't just a webtoon, which confuses Eren, who asks him the meaning of that word. Urian cries as he remembers the details of the character Urian Rocks that he has now become. He recalls that in his novel, Urian was a scumbag by all measures, with no talent or skills and never trained, living only off his family's name as an heir. In the end, he loses his fiancée to the protagonist, and in a fit of rage, he attacks the hero, only to suffer a crushing defeat, and die pathetically in a back alley. Amidst this uncertain world, he wonders how he is supposed to survive, especially since he doesn't know what abilities Urian possesses in this fictional world. But he suddenly remembers that as the story's author, he at least knows the opportunities and items the protagonist hasn't found yet. He decides he needs to prepare quickly. When he tries to get up, he stumbles and feels the weight of his fat-filled body. Eren asks him with concern if he is okay, but he doesn't seem interested, and she advises him to continue resting. Then he suddenly stops, staring into space, realizing he can't see that thing now. As Urian wonders why he can't see that thing, he realizes it might be related to his earlier frowning. Suddenly, a transparent system window appears before him, revealing information about Eren. Urian discovers with astonishment that it's the famous status window from such worlds. The window displays Eren's name, her traits which include Swift Sword Level 2, Clear Mind Level 1, and Aura Adaptation Level 1, in addition to an affection meter that reads 0. Eren notices him staring into space and asks about his condition. Urian gets flustered and tells her he went crazy for a moment but is fine now, then asks her to return to her duties. Eren agrees and leaves. Once he's alone, Urian summons Eren's status window again to examine it. He remembers that in his original story, Eren was always stronger and more talented than ordinary knights, which the Swift Sword trait confirms. But he pauses at the affection meter, wondering what it is, and if this world is like the dating simulation games he used to play. However, he notes with relief that the affection level isn't negative, which is a good thing considering Urian's usual behavior. Urian decides this isn't the main point, and tries to summon his own status window. Indeed, it appears before him, revealing his name, Urian Rocks, his special condition, morbid obesity, and a unique trait, Creator's Eye Level 1, in addition to 4 heavenly poison arts, locked, and a synchronization rate of 99.9%. The 4 heavenly poison arts especially catches his attention, but he notices that the trait is there, yet it remains locked. He remembers it was taken from a wuxia webtoon he loved, which featured an attractive heroine. Those martial arts relied on poisons and hidden weapons. Urian realizes his world is a strange mix of ideas, but he sees this art as a golden opportunity and believes it might be his ticket to survival. The text describes this ability as belonging to a clan from Chinese wuxia novels, a prestigious sect from Sichuan province specializing in poisons and silent assassinations with poisoned hidden weapons. The name of this trait appears in his status window as Tang Clan of Sichuan, locked, making Urian wonder why it exists in a medieval fantasy world, and what would happen if he could unlock this ability. Elsewhere, Eren calls out to the Marquis, who asks Eren if Urian has woken up. Eren answers in the affirmative, confirming he woke up a short while ago. When he asks about his condition, she tells him he doesn't seem normal yet, and that he stumbled when he tried to stand, indicating his body is still in bad shape. The Marquis is surprised by this, especially since Priest Aelio told him Urian's wounds were not deep. As the Marquis leaves, he asks Eren if she noticed anything strange in Urian's behavior. He points out that normally, Urian would have flown into a rage if asked to apologize to Elia, but this time he agreed quietly and strangely. The Marquis believes his son's personality hasn't changed, and his current calmness is just a temporary daze, expecting him to return to his angry nature by tomorrow, vowing revenge on Elia. In contrast, Eren expresses her hope that the young master will recover and gradually improve. The Marquis scoffs at her faith in him, admitting that he himself, his father, has already given up on him. He laughs bitterly, saying he feels sorry for her, and that it would have been better if he had let her live her life as a knight. Eren remains silent, thinking about how difficult things are for her master. But she remembers that the young master today seemed different in a way that was hard to explain. Meanwhile, Urian asks Eren to guide him to the training hall. because he wants to do some exercises. Aaron is surprised by his sudden request to train at this particular time, but Urian insists. As they walk, Urian thinks about his new ability. The Creator's Eye trait allows him to see stats, but he has no idea how to unlock the locked Tang clan of Sichuan ability. He guesses that his obesity might be the reason and decides to start by exercising as a first step. Urian feels exhausted just walking through the vast palace garden, which is the size of several playing fields. He realizes he is not fit for home workouts, as his obesity always pulls him back to bed. He also notices that whenever he passes a servant, their affinity meter shows extremely negative values, ranging from hatred to intense disgust. It seems everyone around him hates him. He doesn't blame them, admitting to himself how bad the original Urian's personality was. After a tiring walk, they finally arrive at the third training hall, which is less used by the knights. They notice someone else is there. As soon as Urian's eyes fall on him, a status window appears with a shocking message. Affinity, -91, desire to kill. The window reveals this person is Rika Olian, possessing the Swift Sword Level 1 trait. Rika smiles sarcastically and asks Urian why he has come to the training hall. While Urian recognizes him in shock, as Rika smiles, he comments that it's a great honor that the young master still remembers him. Urian nervously replies that of course he remembers him. Urian quickly turns to Aaron and whispers, asking her if something happened between him and this man. Aaron asks in surprise if he doesn't remember, then reminds him of the incident. Aaron explains that a few years ago, when the Marquis forced him to train, the enraged Urian summoned Rika, who was then a trainee knight, and disfigured his face with a sword while laughing. After that incident, the Marquis gave up on forcing him to train. Urian is shocked, and realizes to himself that the original Urian was truly a hopeless scumbag. Urian decides it's better to go back, and asks Aaron if there's another training hall he can use alone. Aaron tells him there is a fourth hall, but it's far away with poor facilities, mostly just an empty field. Urian sees this place as perfect and asks her to take him there, declaring that if he's going to lose weight, he'll do it properly. Aaron agrees and leads him to the fourth hall. As soon as they arrive, Urian thinks about how the Tang clan of Sichuan specializes in throwing knives and small weapons. In an attempt to unlock the ability, he grabs a dagger and throws it forcefully, but nothing happens. He feels disappointed because he thought he would be able to unlock the ability. He laughs nervously, claiming he was just throwing for fun, and decides he must build his stamina first. Aaron suggests he run around the hall, but Urian tells her he will train alone and she can train as she wishes. Then he starts running. The Marquis stands astonished, wondering how Urian actually came to the training ground and started exercising. He finds it strange and wonders how long this enthusiasm will last. 3 weeks later, it turns out that Urian hasn't missed a single day of training during this entire period. He has lost a lot of weight, and his appearance has changed noticeably. The Marquis comments on this change, saying, "As expected of my son." As the Marquis watches his son, he notices that without the fat, his son actually looks handsome, and he wonders if he has truly matured. In his room, Urian looks at his body in the mirror, realizing he has lost a lot of weight. But he is still worried because the Tang clan of Sichuan trait has not been unlocked yet. He decides to give it another month, and if nothing happens, he will have to steal the fateful encounter meant for the protagonist in the story. At that moment, Aaron enters with his dinner. A system window appears, explaining that the dish is Sharon soup, a nutritious dish that helps burn fat and build muscle, and it is customary in the Rox family to eat it after every training session. Urian shows his displeasure at eating the same soup again, so Aaron asks if he is tired of it. Urian confirms that he is indeed tired of eating it for 3 consecutive weeks. Aaron asks him seriously about his true goal, whether he just wants to lose weight or to become a knight. Urian enthusiastically declares that he, of course, wants to become a knight. Aaron then scolds him, reminding him that even the great Marquis himself eats Sharon soup after his training, and therefore, as a young master, he should stop complaining and eat it. Urian gives in and starts eating, thinking to himself that this tradition is old-fashioned, but he will endure it because it helps him lose weight. While eating the soup, he notices that its taste is slightly different today. Suddenly, a system message appears, telling him he has ingested poison. Despite his shock, another message follows, stating that he has met the condition to unlock the Tang clan of Sichuan, and that the trait is now unlocked, leaving him in a state of bewilderment. Elsewhere in the palace, the Marquis was still thinking about his son's change. He admitted that his son had become handsome after losing weight, and wondered again if he had really matured. Someone asks the Marquis for permission to enter the room, carrying some tea for him, and she is revealed to be his second wife, Kana. She asks him what he was looking at so intently. The Marquis replies that he was just thinking about the beauty of the garden. Kana praises his taste and tells him that she has been personally taking great care of the garden, and the Marquis compliments her on her wonderful skills. As the Marquis and his wife Kana converse, Kana asks him when he will choose Colin as his heir, as he had previously mentioned. She adds that since the matter has already been decided, it would be better to speed it up. The Marquis is surprised by her question and tells her hesitantly that it might take more time. Kana objects and reminds him that he promised to name Colin as the heir within this month. The Marquis explains that, as she has probably heard, Urian seems to have come to his senses recently, and as the eldest son of the Rocks family, if he perseveres like this, he could become a good successor. Kana pretends to agree, saying she has also heard about Urian's improvement and that she was worried about him but is happy he has finally regained his senses, considering it must be a relief for the Marquis as well. The Marquis laughs, commenting sarcastically that his son only woke up after his fiancée slapped him. When Kaina asks him again what he will do about the heir, the Marquis replies that Urian has only been training for 3 weeks, and he would prefer to observe him for a longer period, but he promises her that if Urian returns to his old ways, he will immediately grant the title of heir to their first son, Colin. Kaina asks him to join her in the bedroom after he finishes his work, and after she leaves, signs of intense anger appear on her face as she silently vows revenge on Urian. Meanwhile, Urian was still shocked by the unlocking of the Tang clan of Sichuan trait. As the Sichuan Tang family specializes in poisons, he realizes the condition for unlocking it was to ingest poison, which he finds ridiculous. He recalls the information window for the Sharon soup and discovers he can scroll down to see more details. The additional information reveals a database update regarding the Hanyang herb with a paralysis property. This herb is primarily a medicinal plant but contains a very mild poison. It is harmless to adults in small amounts, but if it accumulates in the body, it slowly paralyzes the body until death. Aaron snaps him out of his daze by asking why he stopped eating. Urian comes to his senses and starts eating quickly. As he eats, he thinks about who put the poison in his food. He remembers that in the original story, the second son, Colin, was supposed to be named heir around this time. He deduces that the reason for the delay is because he started training, and therefore the one who poisoned him is likely from that side. Another system window appears, informing him that he has met the condition to unlock weak paralysis poison. After he finishes his entire meal, he tells Aaron with a strange smile that the soup was so delicious it made him cry. He then asks her to leave him alone for a while. Aaron agrees, wishes him a good night, and leaves. As soon as he is alone, Urian summons his status window to examine the newly unlocked Tang clan of Sichuan trait. His updated status window appears, indicating his condition as overweight, mild poisoning, and mild muscle pain. In addition to his traits and synchronization rate, he discovers he can focus on a specific part of the interface, just like in virtual reality games, to display additional details. When he focuses on the Tang clan of Sichuan trait, it branches into 3 categories: poisons, hidden weapons, and martial arts, all of which are locked. He decides to start by examining the poisons category first. A long list of available poisons appears, such as weak paralysis poison, truth serum, and soul-killing smoke, all locked and requiring lower-level poisons to be unlocked first. When he scrolls to the end of the list, he finds the final available poison is the level 30 Absolute Hidden. He realizes the system is based on gradually unlocking skills by level. To unlock the simplest poison, weak paralysis poison, he discovers he needs an internal technique first. He finds this logical, as the Tang clan uses internal energy to control poisons. He then moves on to examine the martial arts category in search of an internal technique. A list of basic internal techniques available for selection appears, including Dark Poison Arts, Thunder Needle Arts, and 10,000 Divine Poisons Energy, with a warning that he can only choose one internal technique. As a fan of wuxia stories, he finds the choice easy. He remembers that Dark Poison Arts focuses on poisons, Thunder Needle Arts focuses on hidden weapons, while 10,000 Divine Poisons Energy, although it takes longer to master, allows for achieving mastery in both poisons and hidden weapons. He chooses the last option, believing that more is better, as is always the case with wuxia story protagonists. As soon as he chooses 10,000 Divine Poisons Energy, he feels the technique's incantations have been engraved in his mind. He immediately decides to try circulating the energy, so he takes off his shirt and sits in a meditative posture. He feels a strange flow throughout his body and realizes this is qi, or vital energy. He begins to guide it through the correct energy pathways in his body and then stores it in his Dantian energy center to build his internal power. He spends the entire night training until morning, and discovers with astonishment that martial arts novels weren't lying about being able to train all night without sleep. He finds it to be completely true, and what's more, he doesn't feel tired at all. On the contrary, he feels his whole body is filled with energy. He also discovers that he can now sense the flow of qi around him, to the point where he can tell how many birds are outside his window without even looking. He feels the warm, solid energy in his Dantian, and discovers he can now open the status window just by directing qi to his head without needing a mirror. And the window shows that his 10,000 Divine Poisons Energy is at level 1 star at 10%. After spending the night in meditation, Urian senses a familiar aura outside his door. Aaron enters at that moment to wake him, and notices that his bed hasn't been touched, concluding he didn't sleep all night. Urian confirmed to her that he hasn't slept yet. She suggests he rest and skip today's training, but Urian enthusiastically refuses, insisting that he feels excellent and must train. Aaron reluctantly agrees and decides to prepare breakfast for him first. After closing the door behind her, she wonders to herself when the young master started gaining muscle. Later in the training ground, Urian grabs one of the daggers. He is suddenly surprised by the appearance of a crosshair in front of his eyes, similar to those in first-person shooter video games. He decides to aim precisely at the target and throws the dagger with force. The dagger hits the target accurately. Aaron was surprised when she saw him hit the target on the first try. A system window appears, announcing the unlocking of the hidden weapons category of the Tang clan of Sichuan. A shocked Aaron asks him what he just did. Urian replies that he doesn't know either, claiming that the results of his training over the past month are starting to show. Urian looks at the stunned Aaron, noticing it's the first time he's seen her this flustered. He decides to try again, thinking that when he throws, he feels a fiery internal energy rushing from the bottom of his stomach. He throws the dagger again, this time with greater force and speed. The dagger penetrates the target and shatters it completely. Aaron was extremely shocked when she saw that he not only hit the target accurately but completely destroyed it. Urian realizes that having this crosshair is basically a cheat. He remembers that in his previous life, he was skilled at shooting games, so much so that he once won a local tournament at an internet cafe in a game called Battle Attack. As Aaron stands stunned, wondering what is happening, Urian asks her if she feels anything emanating from him. Aaron replies that she can't say anything special, except for the fact that he has lost a lot of weight since yesterday. She confirms that while he had been steadily losing weight due to his daily training and eating Sharon soup, the change in him today was particularly noticeable. Urian is surprised by her answer and realizes that she cannot sense the flow of internal energy in his body. He concludes from this that in this world, he is the only one who can use internal energy, and no one else can detect it, which means he has gained an amazing and unique power. Urian decides to continue training, and throws more daggers with extreme precision. This time, he threw a dagger that pierced the dagger already stuck in the target, which impresses Aaron, who covers her mouth in shock. She asks to try throwing once herself. Aaron throws the dagger, but it misses the target completely. Urian laughs, pointing out that he's finally found something she can't do, which annoys her. At that moment, a system window appears before Urian, announcing the completion of the Memory of Sachundanga and the unlocking of the Straight Strike skill. The window explains that this skill enables him to throw with greater force and speed, not just with the weapons he remembers, but with anything else like stones, wood, or iron swords, as if it were his treasured weapon. While Aaron was still trying to understand why she failed, Urian picks up a broken wooden sword to test his new skill. He asks her to step back a little. Aaron was surprised when she saw him holding a broken sword, not realizing what he intended to do with it. Then Urian feels a huge flow of internal energy from his dantian to his arms, and throws the wooden sword. The broken sword flies with immense force and pierces the center of the target, shattering it. Aaron is stunned and screams, asking about this power and what is happening. Urian replies with feigned modesty that he's not sure, and maybe it's the power of practice. Aaron rejects this explanation, realizing that what she saw was impossible. At that point, Urian addresses her seriously, saying he knows she reports on his affairs to his father, the Marquis. This admission surprises her, so he asks her for a favor, which is to keep this matter a secret for the time being. He explains that he is currently testing several things, and that he will explain everything to her himself later, asking her to wait until then. Aaron agrees to his request. After the training day ends, Urian watches one of the chefs, named Sparrow, as he leaves. Urian uses the Creator's Eye ability to examine him, and a status window appears, revealing that Sparrow has the traits Poisonous Touch Level 1 and Agile Movement Level 1, and his affinity level with him is neutral. Urian realizes that the Poisonous Touch trait is what allows Sparrow to put poison in food and confirms that he is the one who poisoned him. Urian decides it's time for his real test. He focuses his energy, and releases the paralysis poison he recently learned. On Sparrow from a distance, Sparrow is immediately poisoned, and falls to the ground, unable to move. Urian celebrates his success and notices a timer appearing above Sparrow, indicating the paralysis effect will last for an hour. Urian carries the paralyzed Sparrow and moves him to a secluded alley. As Sparrow gradually begins to regain consciousness, Urian starts to question him. He asks him if he knows who he is, threatens him, and tells him that if he wants to live, he must answer truthfully. He asks him directly if he was the one who put the poison in his soup, since Sparrow cannot speak. Urian sets up a simple system for answering. Blink once for yes, and twice for no. After Sparrow confirms his understanding with a single blink, Urian repeats his question about whether he was the one who poisoned the soup, and Sparrow blinks once, admitting his guilt. Urian continues his interrogation, asking if the poison used was Hanyang herb, and Pero confirms this with another blink. Then Urian asks him the most important question about who ordered him to poison him, and was it Marchioness Kaina who ordered him to do it? Urian is surprised when Pero blinks twice, denying Kaina's involvement. Urian doubts his answer and warns him not to lie, threatening to slit his throat and claiming he can tell if he is lying or not. As Urian pressures and threatens Pero, he repeats his question about whether Lady Kaina was the one who ordered him to poison him. Pero remains silent for a moment, then blinks twice again, denying Kaina's involvement. Urian is surprised by his insistence, but he sees in his eyes that he is not lying, so he wonders about the identity of the real person who gave the order. Urian decides to postpone finding out this information for later. After that, Urian takes something out and forces Pero to eat it. He tells him that what he ate is paralysis poison, and that he only has 1 month to live. He warns him that if he doesn't take the antidote in his possession within this month, all his internal organs will dissolve. With that, he forces him to follow his orders from now on, and asks if he understood the meaning of his words, to which Pero agrees with a fearful blink of an eye. Urian places his hand on Pero's head and cancels the effect of the paralysis poison on him, and Pero is surprised to regain his ability to move. As soon as Pero regains his ability to speak, Urian asks him for the last time who ordered him to poison him. Pero confesses that the one who gave the order was the Knight Commander, Carox Levington. Urian recognizes the name, and Pero explains that Carox ordered him to kill the young master due to illness within this year. Urian remembers that Carox is Kaina's older brother, who got the position of Knight Commander thanks to her marriage to the Marquis, and he realizes his conclusion wasn't entirely wrong and that Carox is her partner. Urian decides this isn't the important part now and gives Pero a piece of paper. Pero realizes the paper contains a list of poisons. Urian tells him that since Pero has extensive knowledge of poisons, it means he can obtain them from the black market, using the money he will get from Carox. He orders him to collect all the poisons on the list and bring them to him, and to start with what he already has by tomorrow night. When Pero asks why he needs these poisons, Urian scolds him and tells him he didn't give him permission to ask questions. Pero backs down in fear and agrees to carry out the order. Before Pero leaves, Urian adds one last shocking order. From now on, his soup must always be full of Hanyang herb. This order leaves Pero in a state of complete bewilderment, while Urian laughs, impressed by how amazing martial arts are. As Pero leaves, Urian thinks sarcastically about how Pero believed the paralysis poison lie, revealing that what he forced him to eat was nothing but dried leaves. Urian decides that he needs to quickly master the martial arts of the Tang clan of Sichuan. He remembers that if events were to proceed according to the settings he wrote in his story, a terrifying event would soon occur in the outside world. That night, Pero brings him the poisonous herbs he already had in his possession. Urian examines the herbs and recognizes them immediately, thanks to the status window that appears before him, and Pero is surprised by his ability to identify these rare poisons. Urian boasted to him that this information was a simple matter for him, although in reality, he got it from the window that appears to him. Urian asks him why he was carrying other poisons if the Hanyang herb alone was enough to kill him. Pero explains that the effect of the Hanyang herb is slow and resistance can be developed against it, but by mixing it with Yakrokba poison, its effect becomes stronger and more stealthy. Urian deduces that mixing poisons makes them stronger and more precise. Urian asks Pero how he learned all this, and Pero replies that when he was 8 years old, he was sold to the Levington family and trained under a poison master there. He adds that there were about 20 other children, but they all died, and only he survived. Urian realizes that Pero holds a great grudge against the Levington family and that he has found himself a useful tool. Urian praised Pero for doing a good job, then allowed him to leave. After dismissing Pero, Urian decides to begin his training. He takes all the poisonous herbs and starts eating them. A system window with consecutive messages appears, informing him that he has ingested various poisons and that the body of 10,000 divine poisons is absorbing them. Suddenly, a danger warning appears, requiring him to perform immediate breathing meditation. Urian sits and meditates deeply, determined to reach the second stage of his technique. The next morning, Erin enters to wake Urian. She is surprised to see him sitting shirtless in meditation. She is shocked to see his body, which has transformed overnight into a muscular physique. A system window appears before Urian, telling him that the 10,000 divine poisons energy has advanced to the second stage, that he has acquired a new martial art, the Little Dragon Step, and that several new poison techniques have been unlocked. As Erin asks him in confusion what is happening, she smells a foul odor coming from his body. Urian realizes that what the novels say is true. When internal energy rises and martial arts advance, the body expels a large amount of waste at once. Urian realized the smell was truly repulsive, so he moved to open the window. Erin begs him not to do anything, and orders Urian to go to the bathroom, and he tells her to go immediately. After cleaning himself, he leaves with Erin and they head to the training ground. On the way, Urian begins to learn his new skill, the Little Dragon Step, a special footwork of the Tang clan, perfect for swift movement, assassination, and evasion. Urian feels overjoyed to learn a skill that usually only appears in wuxia novels, and finds that simply imitating the movements gives him a good feeling. She asks him worriedly if he is okay. Aaron notices his strange walk, which resembles that of a drunkard. Urian laughs and assures her that he is fine, but she remains concerned, and asks if he is sure about going to the first training hall today, pointing out that it will be crowded with knights. Urian assures her he is fine and explains that